I'm joined today by Shannon Boyle, Executive Director of New Ground. Shannon Boyle, thank you for joining me today. With nearly 18 years with this amazing agency, New Ground, tirelessly supporting those less fortunate, you always inspire me, Shannon.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you so much for having me with you today. I'm really excited to be here.
New Ground was founded in 1991. It's been providing support for homeless veterans and families on Long Island in a very local and palpable way. Shannon, can you please tell us how New Ground got started and what its mission is at heart?
New Ground was started in 1991, as you said. Actually, we're approaching our 30th anniversary, which is exciting, daunting, and somewhat depressing that we're still needed after all these years. But we began when our founder, Sister Marie Barrett, was living in a homeless shelter as a support staff worker. And she was there to help the families as they came in to find another job, get some money saved up, find a home, and move out. And while she was there, she noticed that there was a real cycle. There was a real pattern where families were coming back in the door after 6 months, 9 months of being out of the shelter. Something would happen and the same family would end up right back in the same circumstance. And it was because nothing significant had really changed. They hadn't increased their education. They hadn't increased their ability to earn a livable wage. They didn't have a greater support network in place. They didn't have a savings. All of those things that would really help them find housing and be able to stabilize it. So she created New Ground and the mission to break the cycle of homelessness. And originally it was for families. And just a year or two later, we started working with veterans as well.
What are some of the programs that you're offering now to the families?
We offer our three main programs. Our family programs include the Jumpstart program, which is for actively homeless families. And we have a long-term housing program, which is small at this point, but we're growing it. That actually includes housing and our support services. And then our veterans program, which serves any veteran household that's homeless or in danger of becoming homeless in the near future. And so for all of the families and veterans that we're working with, we're providing key services around financial literacy, education, career development, and helping them really address all of the barriers and issues that are preventing them from being successful and living independent lives. We help them outline their goals, and then we help them achieve those goals in key areas that will allow them to successfully move on from New Ground and be able to afford and maintain permanent, stable housing.
How do families take advantage of the programs?
So we have primary social workers on staff and our associate program director that are working directly with our veterans and families. Every family and veteran in the program has a primary social worker that's their main point of contact at New Ground. But we do work as a team. So, for example, our associate program director oversees the Jumpstart program and all of our education services. So she'll be involved in meetings with all families and veterans when there's an education component that needs attention. Families and veterans find us through many different ways. We work in direct partnership with various shelters, homeless family and veteran shelters. We also receive referrals directly from the Department of Social Services and their homeless intervention unit. And we work directly with the supportive housing program at the Northport VA.
So, with the extraordinary numbers of people at this particular point in time needing service, How do you manage those numbers?
It's a lot of juggling. We're trying to avoid wait lists for services, if at all possible. We've been creative, certainly over the past 9 months since the COVID pandemic and the economic downturn. We've had much greater need for basic needs, especially with homeless families on Long Island, food, even safety needs, gloves and masks and hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes, all of those things. We've been trying to deploy supplies to everybody to the best that we can. So our services are all remote at this time. We're doing a lot of video conferencing and delivering goods to our families and veterans. But we've had some great supporters step up and help us fill our conference room with food and much needed PPE supplies, so then we can get them out.
Shannon, can you share one story regarding a family that has benefited by the services of New Ground and the impact that it had on them?
Absolutely. Because I've been here for 18 years, I have many stories, which is a blessing to be a part of the work and the lives of those that we've helped. Certainly, I think one story comes to mind where we were working with a mom, a single mom with 2 boys, and she became homeless because her job downsized. She lost her income. She tried desperately to find new employment, but she couldn't. And so she ended up falling behind on rent and being evicted from her apartment and ending up in a shelter. And she was referred to New Ground. We brought her in and had a series of meetings with her to talk about the services that we provide and how we help. And she signed up immediately for the program, and she worked with us for about 4.5 years. She was very, very motivated to really make a change for herself and her boys. She went back to school. She obtained finished her associate's degree and then her bachelor's degree while with New Ground. And she was also working during that time. She made sure that her boys were doing really well in school. She had them participating in our reading program and our tutoring services, so that she made sure they were also going to graduate high school and be on track for a positive future. She worked tremendously hard on her financial situation. She had huge bills and debts when she came into our program, and her credit score was in the low 500s. So she worked really intensely with her social worker on a weekly basis to track what was her income coming in and what were her bills, and how could she decrease her bills, how could she adjust her bills to pay them at different times in the month so that she could spread out her income to the best of her ability. And then each year when she received her tax refund, she worked with her social worker at New Ground to strategize how to best spend that money that came in a lump sum to pay off her debts slowly, step by step, so that her credit score would improve. And when she moved out of our program and into a market rent apartment, her credit score was 767, and she was beyond proud. She had her bachelor's degree and she had a new career, and her boys were on track. Yeah, doing well in school.
Very gratifying. Very, very gratifying. I'm speaking with Shannon Boyle of New Ground. We'll be right back.
Opportunity Calls with Ellen Volpe is presented by ABA, American Business Associates. To learn more about ABA, visit aba-ny.com.
Shannon, homelessness on Long Island, like many of our social issues, is fairly invisible. And I'm wondering if you could speak to some of the statistics affecting Long Island, particularly now that we have so many changes going on with COVID.
Yes, I think you used exactly the right word, Ellen, in that homelessness on Long Island is fairly invisible. Many of us recognize homelessness when we're in a large city or urban area, and we think of homeless as somebody on the streets with a sign asking for food or money, and you don't see that often on Long Island, and that's because our homeless includes many families. It includes many children, and they're not openly in front of us. One thing that you might see that is an identification of homelessness is when you see a school bus pulling up to a local motel or hotel. And that school bus is picking up children in the morning and dropping them off in the afternoon because that's home currently for that child or that family. So that's a key indicator of homelessness for us. Suffolk County, unfortunately, has a designation of one of the highest rates of homeless children in families across the country. Part of the issue is simply a lack of affordable housing. Homelessness on Long Island, our families and adults are typically working. They are employed. They simply don't earn enough money to be able to afford market rent and food and daycare and transportation, really just the necessities, the basics in life. Statistics do show averaging out cost of housing on Long Island. In order for someone to work a minimum wage job on Long Island and afford an average apartment, they have to work 110 or more hours a week. Mm-hmm. So that's more than 2 full-time jobs a week at minimum wage just to afford an apartment. It's hard for us to count the homeless on Long Island because of where they are living. Sometimes they're doubled up with family or friends. Sometimes they're residing in apartments that really are not meant for habitation. They have no running water. They have no heat. There's mold issues, mildew, things of that nature. Our head count is typically around 3,000, 3,500 individuals, including parents, children, et cetera, at any given night on Long Island.
I've always sort of thought about this. It's not really an economic, social line in the sand, so to speak, as to who is and who isn't capable of being homeless. And that always strikes me because I think a lot of assumptions are being made about who is homeless these days. I'd like to speak to the eviction moratorium, wondering, it's going to expire, and I think it's January 1st. And I'm wondering how many people have been affected by the inability to pay rent during this period of time that we find ourselves in. And I'm wondering whether or not there's any information that you have regarding the numbers of people that are struggling to pay their rent right now.
So we don't know yet what that impact is going to be. We certainly, we can't really even estimate because, like you said, there's been a moratorium on evictions in New York State that is ending. And there are certainly many families and individuals that could not continue to pay rent. Some landlords are definitely more understanding and willing to work with their tenants than others. I think in some ways we're kind of all in this together. And so it will be really helpful if landlords are able to recognize that evicting a family right away is going to directly impact them as well, because there's no guarantee that there's going to be another family or individual able to come right into that unit. So they could go months without rent. Whereas if they're able to work out, a relationship and an agreement with their current tenant, things might be much better for the landlords as well. There are certainly resources available There are different funding resources like a rapid rehousing program, which is available to help tenants who have fallen behind on rent catch up on rent. But there are guidelines in place with those programs, and that includes having to be able to demonstrate the ability to pay the rent going forward if you get the assistance to pay the rent arrears. Mm-hmm. So, that's going to be a real big question going forward if these individuals who were unemployed and fell behind on rent can find employment and be able to work again. So then they could qualify for some rapid rehousing type funding assistance, get their rent arrears paid, and then know that they can afford the rent going forward. For those individuals that can't show that they're able to pay rent going forward, they're not going to be able to get that rapid rehousing assistance. I think that we're going to need to see some greater support streams come from New York State or from the federal government, because this is going to be a significant crisis. And then in 2021, even if things begin to improve in other areas, this housing piece is going to be a challenge.
That's sort of frightening to think about, because your agency is really one of, I guess, several around Long Island that can support a situation like this. But every one of these agencies really has a capacity problem. And it's, as you just said, we are all in it together. And I think that we'll be looking forward to staying connected with you on this topic, because I think that while we don't necessarily see homeless in our streets right now, that could change significantly with this situation.
And one thing I would just add, Ellen, in the sense, organizations like New Ground that are really trying to help those who are struggling the hardest, we're sort of facing this double whammy, because we're being inundated with a greater number of clients that need our services at the same time that we can't do our usual fundraising to raise the critical dollars that we need to provide our services. So it's definitely sort of a double whammy challenge.
I'm Ellen Volpe, and we'll be right back after this break.
American Business Associates is New York Metro's premier business development and networking association. To learn more about ABA, visit aba-ny.com.
Shannon, I know your gala is coming up, and like so many others, it will be a virtual event. There may be a silver lining with all the virtual events that did not exist before, in that many, many more people may be able to attend the event to learn about the mission of New Ground. Can you tell us when it is and how people can register?
Yes, Ellen, thank you. This is our annual Groundbreakers Gala, which is our largest fundraising event of the year. And it's tremendously important to supporting our critical programs and services for our veterans and families. It's taking place on Thursday, November 12th, and 7 p.m. You can tune in. It's going to be through YouTube Live. But you can register for the event through our website. If you go on there and you go to the events page, you'll find our gala website, and you just click and register, and you'll get all the information, and you can come back to that gala page to watch the event. It'll be about a 45-minute program. We don't want to make it too long. It's hard to sit in front of a screen for that length of time, but we're really excited to also be combining some of our usual features of our live event. When we have it in person, we usually have a local high school choir performing to represent really our family program. And so we have the Eugenedale show choir performing again this year for us, and that'll be part of the show. And then we have the Marine Corps Color Guard. We've included footage from them in the program. So that represents, of course, our veterans program services. So we're really excited to bring that together, and also to recognize we're honoring our outgoing board president, Ed McDougall. He is finishing his 9th year as our board president this year. And we're honoring 2 really special gentlemen, Ira Prager and Larry Davis, who have single-handedly spearheaded our golf tournament event every spring for the past 7 years. Together, they've helped raise over $700,000 for New Ground. And we're looking forward to them sharing their final event with us next year. It was supposed to be this year, but thanks to COVID, it's postponed till next year. So it's going to be a great night. Yeah.
And year, right?
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
And as you said, I think that this is a really unique opportunity for people who otherwise wouldn't attend our gala or couldn't attend our gala to join us and just learn a little bit more about the work that we do and how we're helping homeless veterans and families on Long Island.
Yeah, I think that's great. I personally believe that our not-for-profit organizations need community involvement more than ever now. And if we want our communities to thrive, we need to give back our time and our energy to support our local organizations, especially ones like New Ground. As I mentioned before, the palpable connection to the community through your organization is it's striking, because it's helping people right where they are, which is fantastic. I know that you're always looking for volunteers, and I'm wondering if you could share some ways in which people can get more involved with New Ground.
Yes, thank you, Ellen. We're definitely regularly looking for volunteers. We have a few different ways that individuals can get involved. We have various committees where individuals can come, bring their expertise, whether it's an event-related committee or our program committee, our development committee, different ways that they can lend their expertise. We also have an advisory board and a young professionals board where we're regularly looking for members. They meet quarterly during the year, and then you have sort of different groups of those 2 boards that might meet more frequently. So that is always an opportunity as well. Getting involved to help us with our major fundraising events like our gala and our golf outing are definitely key opportunities. We have some volunteers that work with us as tutors. Of course, right now everything is remote, but we're really looking forward to when we can come back together again and have our on-site reading program and tutoring programs, and then we utilize volunteers for those programs as well. We regularly have individuals and students host various drives for us. So whether it's a food drive to help outfit our food pantry, or a hygiene supply drive, household cleaning items drive, back to school is a big time of year for us, where we're trying to outfit all of our students with back to school supplies. So we've coordinated with different religious organizations and school groups and students who want to organize those different activities. We supply a detailed list of the items that are critical for our families and veterans, and sort of help organize whatever is necessary. And those are always really helpful.
I'd like to move on to veterans. With Veterans Day just around the corner, I'd love to focus on your commitment to veterans and your affiliation with the Northport VA. I also know that you just created or finished a wonderful project in Huntington, and I'd love to hear about that too.
Yes, it is approaching Veterans Day, and like we have many, unfortunately, homeless families and veterans on Long Island. There are a really large number of veterans in general on Long Island. Suffolk County, last count a couple of years ago, had almost 64,000 veterans in Suffolk County alone, and Nassau County was well over 45,000. So combined, we have over 100,000 veterans on Long Island.
Yeah, that's extraordinary.
Yeah. And also a unique piece of that is we really have veterans of all ages, of all conflicts, all wars. We just run the whole span. A really good friend of New Ground is a gentleman who's a World War II veteran and prisoner of war survivor. He's about 95 now and very active and trying to, continue to get the word out. So you have someone like Bernie at that end of the spectrum, all the way down to our really young, returning recent veterans that have been, in recent conflict. Mm-hmm. So the other reason, something to think about, which is a little mind-boggling, is that we've, been consistently in a military conflict for almost 2 decades. It's almost 20 years. That's the longest time that our country has been deploying soldiers and troops across the world. So, the veteran population isn't going to go away. It's actually going to continue to grow. And when they come back from service, there are challenges that they face going back into the civilian life. It can be a really hard transition. And so you do have actually a higher rate of homelessness amongst veterans than you do average civilians. And so that's where services like what New Ground provides is so important. And we do partner with the Northport VA. We've been working with them since 2017, when we drastically expanded our veterans program. So they focus on the housing piece of the work. And then we come in and provide our services and our key areas of expertise, including financial literacy. So helping our veterans be able to better budget, making sure that they make rent the priority, that they are paying their rent on time and in full, and then helping them figure out how to manage their household income to cover what other necessary bills they have. We also work with veterans on going back to school and figuring out what do they want to go back to school for? What are their interests? What are their skill sets? What career opportunities make the most sense for them? We help kind of figure out with them if they have access to sort of the new GI Bill programs that are available to them, helping connect them with the right people for that, and then helping navigate the financial aid process. Really all the barriers and boundaries that are getting in their way of moving into an education program, so then they can secure a certification or a degree and be able to get that better paying job. And you mentioned our Huntington House, our new project, Ellen. We launched, as I said, our own housing with our long-term housing program. So we have a 2-family home in Huntington where we're housing 2 veteran homeless families at a time. So we've got 2 single moms there for the past couple of years with us. They each have 2 children. They're working on their finances. They're working on education and employment goals. And the plan is in the next few years, they'll be able to graduate from New Ground and move into their own permanent apartments. And then we'll bring 2 new families in and start all over again. So we're really excited about that. It's a beautiful home that we opened a couple of years ago, and it's close to the Northport VA, which is also really helpful for our veterans.
Fantastic. One final note, Shannon. Adopting a family at Thanksgiving and donating a dinner for those less fortunate than we are is something that I know comes up every Thanksgiving for you. And I just want to point that out in case any of our viewers are wondering how they might actually help a homeless family.
Yes, Ellen, that would be tremendous. We definitely always need holiday support. You can adopt a family for Thanksgiving or the December holidays. We give you the information that you need, and it makes such a difference. Thank you for thinking of that.
Again, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you for having me and getting the word out about New Ground and our veterans and families. It's so important, and I'm so very grateful.
You're watching Opportunity Calls with Ellen Volpe, presented by ABA, American Business Associates. To learn more about ABA, visit aba-ny.com.